Welcome to the Making Moves with Mal podcast. In every episode, you'll hear stories from individuals just like you that are trying to make an impact. They'll share their unique journey and some helpful tips that got them to where they are now. You'll hear conversations with people from all walks of life who are trying to make some moves. Now, here's your host, Mal.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us on another episode of Making Moves with Mal. And I am here today with Daniel Luna, aka DJ Luniks. I'm excited to talk to him today because his DJ business is just taken off and it's exploded so much. So I'm excited to hear kind of that journey, man. I know when I got married back in 2018, you did our wedding and all of our guests had nothing but amazing things to say. I mean, the music was great, the vibe, the energy, man, it was amazing. And so I know a bunch of my friends and obviously our fraternity brothers have used you in the past as well. But I want to take it back to the beginning, bro. Like when you first started, like how did the idea of becoming a DJ, like how did that start? And then what made you decide to actually turn that into an actual business and scale it to where you're at now?
Okay. Well, I mean, it was never planned, of course. I mean, I never thought of myself as a DJ when I was, growing up. I always loved music. Okay. Music was always a big part of my life. I remember that I always kept a collection. Obviously CDs back then. When iPods came out, I saved all my money, bought my first iPod. So, I always kept a good collection of music. So I always loved music. And I never really got exposed to DJing until I got to college. Okay. My freshman year of college, through the fraternity, Lambda Theta Phi, and being an interest or trying to join the fraternity, I attended a few parties. And, nice. I met Jesse. Yes. DJ Persist, who's also you've interviewed in this podcast as well. And, the first party, just seeing him, how he would put the music together, like blended and, the reaction of the crowd, like that's where I fell in love. Like I remember it was one of my first parties, and instead of being out there to try to, dance and have a good time, I spent my whole time behind the decks.
You were just looking mesmerized?
At him. Yeah, I was mesmerized. I was just like this for the whole time, just looking at him and what he was doing with the decks and the music and, using the mic and all this. And that just inspired me. I'm like, I think I can do this.
Nice.
And then after that, I bought my first pair of decks, some super cheap Geminis. This is a brand that doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh, really?
It didn't make it, bro, no.
Oh, that's right.
And just started, at home while I was going to college, practicing, practicing blends, downloading more music. Persist was one of my mentors, Jesse. So I would ask him for pointers, where can I find music? He gave me a lot of music to get started. So that was pretty nice of him. And then from there, once I thought I was okay at DJing, obviously through his opinion, I started reaching out to a couple fraternities, and be like, would you give me an opportunity to DJ? I'll do it for free. Like,
so you started at with parties and stuff?
Yeah, like parties, like fraternity parties. Obviously I did a few of our parties too, but I wanted to branch out to people that I didn't know. Right. And be like, hey, like give you the opportunity. If you like me, then you can bring me back. But at that point, obviously I wasn't charging because I didn't have a reputation.
Right.
I was look, I just
started, to put yourself out there, right?
Just to put myself out there. So I would just tell people like, I just started DJing, but I've been practicing. Like, do you have any parties coming up? Like, I'm down to do them, like for free.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's funny part. I mean, that was, someone would tell me, be like, oh, worries, man, I'll pay.
If you're throwing the party, you want to save on that budget, hey.
Yeah, no, another thing they would tell me was like, hey, we'll pay you with beer, man. Beer, alcohol, anything you want. And I'm like, sure, I mean, I'll be a little nervous. I don't want to get too drunk because I still want a good performance, but I'll take a couple beers, a couple shots and this and that. And then started doing parties here and there. Next thing you know, I connected with another DJ at one of those parties, and he was one of the main DJs that used to DJ at the bars out there. Okay. Some of the big bars, Clybourne's, Firehouse, back in the day, Stations.
This is at U of I, right?
At U of I. It's all at U of I. So eventually, like, I got my foot in the door by meeting one of the managers at one of the bars, and that guy let me have one of his gigs. His name is DJ Ali, by the way. Also a U of I DJ. He's no longer DJing. He's a fireman, but he got me in the door at the bars and clubs out there in Champaign at U of I.
Did you have to audition or like showcase, or did they just...
No, because I mean the culture of DJing out there, it's not the same as here. Like it was just like somebody that could kind of play music. Like, obviously I got referred by DJ Ali, who they have seen perform. So they trusted
they
his word.
figured,
Yeah, so they figured like if he's gonna refer this guy and I'm gonna back him up and cover him, like he has to be
He
at least
trusted his word.
Yeah, trust his word. So that's how I got into that, and then eventually from there, started getting more popular, and then other managers wanted me to DJ at their bars. Nice. From there, the events I never thought was gonna happen. So going into the events industry, weddings, like I never saw it, because I would just see DJing. I was like, oh, parties, fraternity parties, clubs, bars, that's where it ends. But then somebody, an acquaintance at U of I asked me, he's like, hey, do you do weddings? And I told him, I'm like, well, I don't. But, I would love an opportunity to do your wedding. Like, I could figure it out. I can do the research and this and that. And they're like, well, actually, we only want you for like DJing. Like we have MCs and this and that. We just love how you DJ, how you do your blends and your mixes.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
we want you just to be the DJ and play the music, and then we'll have our own MCs. And I'm like, sure, that was the first wedding that I did. I mean, that was back in 2008.
Okay.
2008. And it was a great wedding. I just didn't get to experience the MCing side of things, which I later found out it was a big part of being in the wedding and events industry. So eventually after that, I started getting more inquiries from that wedding. So references, people loved it.
People heard you at that wedding and they're like,
people loved it and this and that. And I'm like, and I had fun. I never thought that, I had never been at a wedding or an event like that. It was only bars and clubs and fraternity parties before then. So it was a different dynamic. And I love the dynamic of it. Obviously you have, your structured, timeline with first dance, cake cutting, all that good stuff, and then your dance party.
Right.
So I really saw myself like I could do this again.
Okay.
I could do this again.
So you actually enjoyed doing it?
Yeah,
like,
enjoyed it. But at that point, to be honest with you, I didn't see myself doing it as a career still.
What'd you go to school for?
So I have a major in urban planning.
Urban planning,
which has nothing to do with music.
Hey, man.
After I graduated college, at that point I was already DJing all the bars, like I said, and I had a couple weddings, and then actually jumping from the previous point, but like after that first wedding, so referrals, and somebody hit me up. And that's when I found out that I needed to do the research, be like, how do you do a wedding properly? Right. So obviously, at that point, YouTube's already out. So it's a great, research tool.
YouTube
obviously, DJ
man.
Persist too, because he had done weddings and events at that point.
Yeah.
But I also kind of wanted to do my own research because I felt like as an MC, it's very important to kind of develop a style too. So I kind of did, talked to Jesse, Persist, but also did my own research on YouTube. There's at that point also a lot of companies, a lot of people that put their stuff out there.
Right.
To be like how to MC, how to introduce people and stuff like that. So I started taking on the whole role of the wedding DJ, which is, MCing, but also playing your music and then, rocking your party.
Nice.
And then from there on, it's just, started getting busy with myself, but then I wanted to work more because when I graduated college, I never saw myself working the 9 to 5. Even though I went to college, I love the college experience. I learned a lot of skills in college. And that's something that I definitely wanted to achieve, as a goal to have a degree from University of Illinois.
Definitely.
But I never saw myself working a 9 to 5. So it just kind of happened where after I graduated college, I wasn't lucky enough to get a job. And I also didn't to be honest with you, I didn't go out there and look for a lot because I was very busy, with the DJing and trying to do more events and stuff like that. And I wanted to get more work, so I joined a big company here in Chicago, while also being out there in Champaign. And this was right after I graduated. I decided to stay behind for at U of I as well, because I got another opportunity through a sorority where there was this big property out at U of I. They just got bought out by pretty much like a big real estate company that owns a bunch of different properties throughout universities. So they were trying to change the concept of what it meant to live, in that apartment complex. Oh, okay. So they were seeking to find a DJ. They really didn't. It's funny because they didn't know what they were looking for. They're like, we for sure want a DJ, but we also want somebody that can throw social events, can organize like karaoke nights. They had a pool party, this and that, Well, and then I was like, yeah, I'm definitely very interested because, you know, this could be a full-time job, you know, as a DJ and I guess event coordinator in a way at that point. And I interviewed with them and everything. And you know, they told me what they would offer because this is the first time they were doing this. They had never done it. And they're like, look, we're going to give you a stipend to live here, you know, for as long as you want. There's no contract. So we're going to keep this going until you're able to do it or you want to move on.
Right.
And then we'll also have you help us with some of the marketing and, you know, selling the building. So I was the experience and stuff like that. So kind of going out on campus and promoting with them, you know, because sometimes they will go out there and then they will have me set up, you know, DJ and like DJ behind them and stuff like that.
Got it.
So so I was able to land that job and be able to live without having to pay rent for about 3.5 years. Dude, that's how long that lasted.
Wow. Okay.
And you know, it's funny because I tell you, like, I never saw myself, you know, being a DJ for the rest of my life and having it as a career. But I feel like everything lined up, and that opportunity right there was the one that catapulted me to where I'm at now. Because imagine when you graduate from college, what's the biggest expense? If you can't go back to with your parents,
housing rent. True.
Yeah. So in that sense, you know, I feel like I got lucky, you know, that the opportunity came about through a sorority, and I took advantage of it. And well, that happened too is when I started working for that bigger DJ company in Chicago because I wanted to get my. So
you would drive back.
Yes.
And forth? Oh,
yes. That was a sacrifice right there, man. I spent my time. I spent 3.5 years driving back and forth for events from Chicago while working with this big company, and also doing a few of my own weddings too. Because at that point, I was also starting to book some weddings in Chicago and events. So I would independent from that company. Okay. But at that point, which was around from 2010 to 2013, I was working more for that company than for my own events and my.
And were they doing specifically just weddings? Or?
Mostly weddings, but they also do corporate events. So yeah, and then another thing that also helped me a lot is that the owner of that company was also the type that was, you know, very willing to answer questions about, you know, like how he runs the business, like, you know, how he runs his consultations. He even was kind enough to have me sit at consultations with him.
Nice.
So that is, I feel like, another mentor that kind of helped me a little bit on you know, how to be able to not just, you know, obviously be a wedding DJ and play all the music, rock the dance floor, but also the business side of it.
Yeah, you got to shadow through the important parts.
Yeah, where you got to meet the clients. You know, obviously you got to have your books in order, which is, you know, it's a lot of work, but if you want to you know, have your business run, you know, smoothly, you obviously that's part that you have to do. But yeah, like I said, I never saw myself making a career out of it. Eventually, you know, you get busier. Obviously, I moved on from the big company, you know, and officially created my own company in 2014, Luniks Entertainment. That's when I actually incorporated it.
So that's when you left U of I, and you.
Yeah, that's when I actually left U of I. So I ended. You know, we never had a contract with. That's a great thing because that place was so flexible. Nice. I still remember the name, the place at 117. That's what it's called. Yeah. And
is it still around?
It's still around, but they changed the name.
Oh yeah.
But they don't have the same concept, so they no longer have an in-house DJ. I think I was the only one.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think
they couldn't find another one like you, huh?
I guess not. I mean, I did a lot, man, because I'm the type where like they would just ask me, it's like, hey, can you put something like this together? And I'm like, I'll figure it out. You know, like the first time they told me, it's like, can you do a movie night? And I'm like, let's make it happen. I didn't have anything to do a movie night with. So what did I do? I went and I bought a projector and I bought a screen. And I'm like, it's an investment, you know?
Yeah,
and
true.
I was like, let's have a movie night, you know? Hey, let's have a karaoke night. Oh, I don't have a karaoke system. I found an application online that does karaoke. And what I do is pretty much just sign in, create an application, create an account through there and just use my microphones and my speakers. You know, not necessarily a karaoke system, but it worked.
It worked, yeah.
You know?
You improvised.
So improvise and yeah. So
awesome.
I feel like once I moved, you know, up here to Chicago, that's when it really started taking off. Because it's obviously, you know, I feel like, you know, you have to be there at the beginning of your business. Like you can't just like, you know, be in a different city if that's where you want to grow your business. Yeah, that's true.
That's very true.
So
it's a lot harder to do it.
Yeah. So once I was here in Chicago, then I could invest 100% in Luniks Entertainment, and that's when I started slowly shifting from the bigger company into doing more of my events.
So when you went off on your own, you were still working for the big company here, right?
Yeah, yeah, for the big company.
But then you already had what was your vision at the time there?
So my vision at that time was at that point I had been exposed to not just that company but other DJ companies too as well, and how they work, because I interviewed for a few.
Okay.
And with that also comes in like a few wedding planners that really liked me, and I would ask questions when I was at gigs just to try to learn more about the industry here in Chicago. Okay. And eventually I feel like I feel like I love the company that I work for, but I just saw myself running my own company and running it kind of like the way I want. You know, and that included like, you know, the way the consultations were done, the way the process was done, you know, everything pretty much, you know. And then at first I thought like, okay, I'm just gonna do this on my own. You know, I think I could, you know, keep myself pretty busy and have a good career, just, you know, DJing on my own through Luniks Entertainment. But you know, I through my years of working at that other company, I met a lot of DJs too. Yeah. And you know, they were always also telling me like, yeah, I want to do my own thing, you know, and this and that. But I feel like they had been with that company for a lot of years and never pulled the trigger. Yeah. So and then became good friends of mine. And eventually, when I created my own company, like some of them started reaching out and be like, hey man, do you have any work? Like, you know, I would love to work with you, you know. So I never really thought about like, you know, having more than one DJ like myself. But then, you know, I started, you know, develop a relationship with them, and they decided that they wanted to do some events for me. I told them like, I have some opportunities. Obviously, at that point, I wasn't that big, so I had a few double bookings where I was already booked. But they jumped on, and then eventually I started building my team from there. That's awesome. And now we have 9 DJs that we work with. You have 9 DJs? Yeah, 9 DJs that we work with. Wow. You know, but yeah.
How did that scale? Like, how did that transition go? Because I know it's hard, you know, being on your own and doing things a certain way yourself, and then having to either show people your way of doing things, and then scaling that to the other people that you've brought onto your business. Like, how has that transition been for you?
It was tough at the beginning, but I realized that you had to create a process and be consistent with it. You know, sure. I think the biggest thing was having a good relationship with the DJs and you know, having that clear line of communication of like, what's the work that you're going to be doing? What's the work that I'm going to be doing? What are you going to get compensated for it? You know, because I'm the type where like, you know, I understand that like DJ is everything. They're the ones that are there at the event. You know, they're the ones that are representing my company. Yeah. But then, you know, they get complimented by my work too, because the way I run my company is I am pretty much kind of like the one that takes care of all the details beforehand. So I deal with every one of our couples. And then the DJ gets involved in the process a little bit down the line. Okay. Where, you know, I'm able to share all the information with them. Like, this is the couple, these are their names, this is the music that they're looking for, so on so to prep them for the gig. Right. And I think another thing that was very important in my process too is for my clients to have at least some communication with our DJs. Because the biggest thing is like some couples might want to book your company, but like they want to book you because you're the owner. True. But if you're not available, well, that's it. Like, what else can you offer me? So I tell them like, look, I'm not available, but I have a great team of DJs that represent me, you know, everything that I described to you in the consultation, you know, being reliable, being responsible, being a great MC, you know, being, you know, adjusting to you guys, you know, to make this process easier. Because that's one of the biggest things that we do, you know, every couple's different, you know, the approach to their wedding. So we just kind of adjust, and the DJ does the same. So yeah, I feel like the process, the way it is what really sets, you know, Luniks apart, you know, and why it has grown so much. You know, and you know, people always talk about the next step, you know, like how much, like how are you gonna scale it, how much, and you know, I've thought about that for years.
Did you ever think you were gonna get to 9 DJs? Like,
no, I never did. I mean, I never thought I was gonna get to 150 events in 1 year.
That's insane.
Yeah, like I never thought it would get to that point, but you know what? I'm glad that it did, because at the end of the day, like, running a business is great, but I feel like everybody runs their business differently, and everybody feels like, you know, they hit a point where like they're good, so people say like, okay, you're comfortable, like you don't want to make more money, this and that, but I feel like sometimes it's not about that, you know. Right. Especially with the way I run my business, like it is really geared towards customer service and making sure that couple feels like they're the only couple that we have this year, right? You know, for a wedding. And in order to be able to do that process and do it through me and with me, because I found out that like a lot of couples, even though I may not be their DJ, they want to work with me through the process, because I help them out with anything from ideas for music playlist to timeline creation.
Okay.
Because not every couple has a wedding planner or day of coordinator.
Right.
True. So we sometimes step in and assist
have to
with
act
that.
as that.
Yeah. Because essentially, your MC is the one that's going to be running, making the announcements. So that's why we even appreciate being involved in that part of the process, like 100%. Because even when they have a wedding planner, we're still involved and always asking, like, hey, where's that timeline? Can you send it to us? Like, we need it so we can review what they're going to be doing for their big day. But yeah, no, I think, the way that I structure the process, I feel like I'm at a point where, like, the amount of gigs that we're doing is great. We're able to take care of all our couples. I'm not a greedy guy. I feel like I just want to be comfortable, to be able to take care of my family, And also, the way that I want to run my business, if I start taking on more gigs, then I start doing a disservice to the couples that I already have in the books, because I'm the type where, like, I'm very detail oriented. So, I don't want any little details to get missed through the cracks, because, and again, every couple is different. There's some couples that are super detail oriented. They're like, hey, I don't like the way my first dance starts. Can you start it at second 15? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? We'll fit it in at that time. And I feel like if you're running, 400, 500 events, those are little details that can get missed and this and that. So.
And it's crazy because specifically for the couple, like, that's such a big day for them, right? Like, to you, it may not seem like a big deal missing those little details, but to them, it's the world, right? Like, that little detail means everything. So.
Yeah. And I guess, that's where we try to put ourselves, every time we do a wedding, we put ourselves in a state of mind that this is the only wedding that I'm like right now, everything else got blocked out.
Matters, yeah.
This is I'm here 100%. Like anything you need, and that's the whole thing, making that couple feel special, and like they're the only ones, and I think that's huge. Just catering, getting to know them, and catering the music to what they want.
For sure.
I mean, it happens where, like, some weddings are similar, but I feel like every wedding is a little bit different.
Right.
And we always
have
that mentality.
Is always different. That's very true.
The playlist from last weekend is not going to be the same playlist as, this coming weekend. We can't assume that whatever packed the dance floor last week is going to pack the dance floor this week. Yeah. So
could be a completely different crowd.
So that's why I get to know the couples very, like, asking the right questions is a big thing, But yeah, I'm finally at a point where, like, the process is good. Maybe just revamping a few things to make them a little more efficient. But yeah, like, the way the process is right now, I think it's great. I'm at a good point right now.
That's
like
awesome.
We want to average 125 to 150 events a year from now on.
Pretty good. And you're well on that already, right?
Yeah. We're at 149 this year. So
there you go.
That's why I'm telling you that I close all dates till the end of October, and we're just taking very convenient dates like the end of November and December.
Got it.
And because again, it's for us, it's more about quality than quantity.
I like that.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
and you mentioned a little earlier too, the impact that some of these mentors that you connected with early on had on you and your kind of growth and development in this business. How much of a value do you see having a mentor? Like, if somebody wanted to start a business or somebody wanted to get into DJing, like, what is some of that advice that you would give them to get started?
Like somebody seeking a mentor?
Yeah.
And this and that? Go out there. Like, if you're trying to become a DJ, go out to a bar, and I'm not saying that everybody's going to be very receptive to you,
right.
Because there's some people that are not willing to help others, but just go out there and ask. Like, if you want to be a DJ, ask a DJ. I'm like, hey man, can you give me your business card? Do you mind if I send you an email? I just have a few questions, man. I want to be a DJ. And that applies the same to, like, real estate. Somebody coming here in your office and be like, hey man, I'm a college student. Like, I really love real estate. Like, I want to learn more about it. Like, do you mind if I send you an email with a few questions? Yeah. And you'll be like, yeah. Obviously you're a busy man. Like, I'm gonna get to you like within a day, right. But I'm gonna get back to you. And yeah, like I say, just put yourself out there and ask questions to those people that you see where you want to be.
Yeah.
Not all of them are gonna be receptive,
right?
But like, don't be ¿cómo se dice agüitar en inglés? Don't don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged
yeah.
if they're not receptive to answer your questions. Just keep trying with other people. Eventually, there'll be someone like you or someone like me that will be willing to give that information. Because I feel like, you know, we have a lot of knowledge here that if we share and put out put out there in the world, just like you're doing through this podcast, and if it just inspires, you know, one person, I feel like that right there
makes a difference.
Yeah, that makes a difference, man. And so I think that when people, you know, like that ask me questions, like I'm always willing to give them the knowledge, you know, to whatever it is that they want to do, you know. Like my DJs, for example, I was telling you earlier, I get to know every single one of them and what their goals are, you know. I have my longest tenured DJ. His name is DJ Alex. He's been DJing for 20 plus years.
Nice.
He loves my process. He's like, bro, I'm not really trying to create my own company. I just, you know, I love DJing. I love the way you work, you know, how you just, you know, send me the gigs, give me everything ready to go. I talk to the client a couple times, you know, and just rock the wedding event.
Yeah.
Where I have other DJs where, like, you know, I want to eventually become my own company.
Right.
And I'm not the type where, like, oh, I'm going to keep everything in the wraps because I don't want this guy to eventually, you know, leave me and you know, create his own company. No, I'm the opposite. I'm like, hey man, this is how I run consultations. This is what I do to keep organized. You know, this is how I keep my books and this and that. And I've had two DJs that, you know, kind of branched out on their own. They still work for me a few gigs here and there, but they're doing their own thing, you know, and they're eventually, hopefully, gonna have their own team, and I'm okay with that, man. I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, like they also had a dream just like I did, you know. So like somebody taught me what I know, you know, that I had great mentors, so I'm gonna pass that information over to somebody else. You know, I wish everybody was like that, man. If everybody was like that, you know, this world would be a much better place.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, man.
But envidia,
it is, man. But at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, we all start in the same position, you know. I didn't, just like you got to the level you are now, it didn't happen overnight, right? Yeah. Like you had to learn, you had to fail, you had to learn, you had to not give up. You consistently keep adapting and keep developing to get to the level where you're at. So, I think with finding the right mentor and the right people that are willing to help you grow, you as the individual also have to be willing to put yourself in that position. Like you said, put yourself out there, ask the right questions, or reach out to the right people that could help you take your knowledge and your skills to that next level. Definitely. So
networking is a huge part, I feel like, in advancing in that field, in whatever field you want to advance. Just, you know, there's people that are shy and some people that are shy, but I feel like if that is your goal, that is your dream, like just go for it. Like, don't hesitate, just pull the trigger. Yeah. You know, because if you hesitate, it's never gonna get done.
That's very true, man. That's very true. 5-year plan from now. Just staying the way it is. Staying in Chicago. You don't plan on.
Yeah, no, it's definitely in Chicago. Keeping the company. I thought about making the company a little more boutique. Okay. So maybe still having a good amount of DJs, because one of the biggest things too for me having, you know, a lot of guys that I depend on and I rely on is also backups. You never know. And I think that's very important. But I think in the future, like maybe creating like more boutique type DJ where like price is a little higher, but the process is a little more detailed, even more than now. Even though it's pretty detailed now, but you know, there's some couples that I feel like are looking for that. You know, where maybe, you know, the DJ is a little more involved than he is now. You know, where like he's the one that checks in with the couple, you know, 3 to 4 months before. He's the one that runs the final meeting with them. You know, and then I just kind of on the back end as an assistant, like if he needs anything type of thing, you know, maybe just having like 3 main DJs, you know, doing maybe just a few bookings per day. Right now, I mean, we don't do a lot. The most that we do in one day will be 3. 3? And that's it, you know, so we'll have 3 on a Friday, 3 on a Saturday, 3 on a Sunday, and that's it, you know. And that sometimes doesn't happen that way. Maybe I have just, you know, 3 on a Saturday and 1 on a Friday. But maybe in the future, just doing like 1 per day, but that's it. You know, like you're the only couple that we have that day. Right. This is your DJ, you know, but that's something that I thought about, but I don't know. I also like where I'm at right now. But I thought about maybe becoming a more boutique DJ company.
That's interesting, man. And are you 100% wedding based right now, or do you also do?
So most of the business is weddings. I would say 90% of what we do is weddings. The other 10%, anywhere from corporate events to high school parties, proms, Sweet 16s, quinceañeras, but mostly weddings. I think that's what I kind of learned to love within the events industry. But I think it's more about just being able to kind of like a structure an event, create a timeline and making sure that everything's done in a timely manner. I feel because those celebrations, whether it's a wedding or whether it's a private party, like they only have a certain amount of time to be in the space.
Yeah, true.
So we can maximize that time so everybody, you're able to do everything that you want to do, have a great party, your dinner, your speeches, etc. Yeah, like I feel like I enjoy organizing an event a lot. So yeah, I love weddings. I love being in the presence of love, I guess, some people do.
Yeah.
But other events I also love because of the organizational part of it,
Right.
like just helping somebody throw a good event, throw a good party.
Good, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Putting the right energy out there for the people.
Yeah. And then, I feel like you're always going to need to party, So,
yeah, man.
everybody gets
People look
stressed
forward
and you
to the
got to let
parties.
out. You got to let out.
Always.
So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, people are spending, a lot of money, a lot of time to have this great event. They hire us. Want to make sure you make the most out of it.
Of course. No,
make the most
100%.
out of it.
Cool, man. The last question I have for you is, if you could go back, to when the love for DJing sparked, would you change anything in your path to what got you to where you are now?
I thought of this question before, and my answer a few years ago would have been yes. Because there'll be points in time where I'll get frustrated and I'm like, I'm not moving fast enough. Like I'm not getting enough inquiries. Like this and that.
Yeah.
And then I realized that's okay. Everybody moves at a different pace.
For sure.
That's when a lot of people that are trying to achieve goals have this misconception that you have to compare yourself to others, and you don't. There's always this pressure in society where like, if you're doing something and then this person's like ahead of you and you've been at it the same time that he has, then you're failing.
Right.
And that's not the case, man. That's not true at all.
Yeah. Everybody
kind of has their own pace as their own pace to develop. They develop at their own pace.
Exactly.
So it used to be yes. Maybe I should have come to Chicago out sooner. Maybe I should have moved up here and quit my job over there that I had, which is very nice, sooner. But now I don't have any regrets. I feel like the journey that I took was gonna be my journey regardless.
Yeah.
I have this belief that like everybody is on a journey, and like you looking back at it, like you're wasting time. You're wasting time being like, what could I have done differently? What can I do now to make my future different?
Yeah, there you go.
How about you ask that question instead?
That's a great.
No, I'm not calling you out on that.
Yeah.
So no, not anymore. I don't see myself, doing something differently back then. So yeah, no regrets of like, maybe I could have done this better. Maybe I could have done this differently. I feel like my journey is my journey, and I am where I want to be.
That's awesome, man.
No matter what.
And you're doing great things, man. And I see nothing but amazing successes coming your way in the near future. So
same to you, man.
You're all booked for this year? You're booking for 2023 now?
Yeah, we're booking very well for 2023 as well. I just feel like these past 2 years were crazy because of the pandemic. I feel like next year everything's gonna level off, so we're gonna go back to where it was in 2019.
Yeah.
Because right now what it is just like we have so many inquiries and we just can't service that many people. So I feel bad because like I know all these couples are looking for great DJs. And unfortunately, like we're at a point where like we have too many bookings. So I mean, we're happy to refer. I have colleagues in the industry that have a similar philosophy than we do. So I always like to refer even to that point, and then they refer us to as well. So yeah, but next year, I might tone it down a little bit, because it's 2 years we worked really hard, but we'll see, because awesome. You also gotta have some time for family, man. That's always important.
That's very important, man.
Family and friends.
Yeah, that's very true, man. That's very true. Where can people find you?
So they can follow us on Instagram at Luniks Entertainment. That's Luniks Entertainment. And then on Facebook, also Luniks Entertainment. But if you literally Google us, you'll find everything you need to know about.
There?
Yeah. So my name is DJ Luniks. So that's why it's Luniks Entertainment. Yeah. But I always, when couples ask or prospective clients like, hey, where can we find you? I'm like, DJ Luniks. Well, here's my business card. But if you lose it, just type DJ Luniks on Google. Or just type Luniks and you'll find us. There is one band out of Europe that's called Luniks. That's not us.
Oh, really? Maybe you guys should collab, man.
Right?
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, dude, it was such a pleasure having you on the podcast today, man. Definitely learned a lot about your journey and how you got to where you are, man. And it's very, very inspiring, like you said, man. I'm sure somebody listening out there that's either an inspiring DJ or that wants to pursue that path, hopefully they can get some advice from here. If people want to maybe ask you questions, can they reach out to you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You'll be able to find my contact information all over Google, social media that's on there. You can reach out to me any questions. Any aspiring DJs out there, like I'll be happy to help. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again for stopping by the episode. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.